Today I'm synthesizing a 808 from scratch in Vital. 808s are usually just long sine waves. So I'm gonna pull up a sine wave and modulate the level with an LFO. Generally, I like to make longer 808s because when I'm working with those high frequencies, it always makes the 808 sample actually shorter, and I always have a problem when I get an 808 where it's just not long enough. So I'm gonna have my 808 here go for 2 bars, and then I'm just gonna modulate the level with the LFO. So I'm gonna turn off note tracking so that no matter what note I play on the keyboard, it'll always sound the same. And then I'm gonna turn the pitch down like -16 is good. And then at this point, because you have note tracking off, what you set the pitch to actually determines the pitch of the 808. So if you're trying to get a certain note for your 808, you have to be careful about what pitch you do. So next I'm gonna work on the transient of the 808. So similar to the kick synthesis, this one also uses a quick pitch down. So I'm going to modulate the pitch with this LFO. Oh, and remember to have your mode on envelope so that it doesn't repeat when you play the note. Yeah, so already we're starting to get that 808 feel. Next I'm just gonna add a little bit of distortion. How much distortion you have on your 808 will generally determine how much high end you'll have. So when you're doing your 808 slides, it'll really define how much you hear them. I'm gonna make my pitch modulation a little bit quicker. So yeah, so it gets to that final pitch of the 808 a little bit quicker. I can try out a little bit of compression. And again, it's all about experimenting to get exactly the sound that you want. So for post-processing, I'm poor and I don't have any plugins, so I'm gonna hit them with the Diblo Lite. To be honest, the clip knob actually does wonders for the 808. Also, one thing I'm noticing is that the transient sounds different on every single time I'm hitting it, and I'm pretty sure that's because the phase knob. I have to turn the phase down so the sine wave always starts in the same place every time you hit the note. I can maybe compress it again. And that'll really add a distorted feel to it, so it just depends on what I want the 808 to sound like. Actually, for this one, I'm thinking I'm not gonna have the second compressor and have it more of a sine wave. Yeah. So at this point, it's like you can just add whatever you want to this, just like experiment with different like plugins and stuff. But yeah, so once I have my initial 808, I think in a pretty good shape, I always like to test out like what it sounds like when it slides. So I'm going to do a quick export of this pattern that has one 808 playing so that I can use it and just experiment with it. I just go over to my pattern and quick render as an audio clip. Some people like to use Edison to record it in, but yeah, so you can see from my waveform here that the transient, the hit at the beginning, is much louder than the rest of the kick. So I could do a few things. I could reflect that with the LFO here, so go like this or something. And that's a viable option. I could also choose to compress the whole kick so that all the volumes are brought closer together. But in this case, I think this looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and quick render this again. And then we can look at the waveform and it's like much more even at the beginning. So I like that. And we're gonna try to slide this a little bit. So I'm just gonna drag this into my channel rack. And then I'm gonna go to a new pattern and just start experimenting. So first I'm gonna do the ADSR here, and then I'm going into my piano roll and I'm just gonna experiment with a little bit of sliding. So I also sometimes might just pull up a beat here and just see how it sounds in context. One thing I do notice is that it looks like when I exported the pattern, it didn't include the full length of the 808, and that is something that I can fix when I export it for the final time. And I think I'm about ready to do that because I do like how this 808 is sounding, and I think it's ready to just export it for the final time. So here I'm going to my Vital. I'm just going to put one down. I could record this in Edison again, but this method seems to work for me. So I'm just gonna select on the playlist the amount of time that will encapsulate the entire 808, which in this case is 2 bars because I had selected my 808 to last 2 bars. Then I'm just gonna export it as a WAV file. And that should be it for the 808. Yeah.